Seems now that the final move for the bullpen has been made for the New York Mets, as it was announced yesterday that Ryne Stanek is re-signing on a $4.5 million contract. We got a report along with it saying that this could open the door for a possibility of something. We're gonna get into what it is, what the Mets bullpen is looking like, and pitching staff as a whole now going forward. What is going on, everybody? You are locked into this edition of Mets Digest with your host, Michael DeAngelo. As you see on the screen, hope everyone is having a good day so far. We're at a little over or a little under 3.8K subscribers. I got to ask that you guys please subscribe down below for everything New York Mets news, roster news, trade updates, free agency rumors, free agent signings, reactions, stats, breakdowns, all of that going on right here. This is your one-stop shop for everything New York Mets baseball. Me and Flobo Boys have been on top of everything so far here this offseason. Any report, any rumor, we report it right here for you guys on Mets Digest. So you guys don't have to go through scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all night long. You could just sit here and watch this for about 8 to 10 minutes and, be updated on everything New York Mets going on right now in free agency with this wild off season. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like, comment. I read all your guys' comments. Comment down below what you think about all of this, and let's get started. Now, Ryne Stanek made a bunch of noise for us in the postseason last year, came in 8 innings, got some clutch outs, and he more than deserves to be back on this team. Now, taking a look at his year as a whole, obviously he was a struggling reliever at the beginning of the season, but, once he got traded to the Mets, he kind of did his job thoroughly. 33 years old. We're not paying him a lot of money, and, this is just another depth piece for this bullpen. Now, looking at this bullpen as a whole, it screams depth at this point, and that is what David Stearns is going to. When you look at this pitching staff as a whole, it is just deep with lots of names and, lots of bodies you can throw out there. He practically has a 6 or 7 man rotation now on this team. Plus, with this bullpen, he has tons of right-handers that throw those hard sinker-slider combos. If you're looking at it as a whole now, it's between the likes of Edwin Diaz, Reed Garrett, Dedanel Nunez, AJ Minter, Huascar Brazoban, Ryne Stanek, maybe throw Griffin Canning in there, maybe throw Tyler McGill in there. Just tons of guys, top to bottom, that have, had decent years for us over these past couple of years. And, this roster is something, this pitching staff is a staff that can sustain injuries, a couple injuries to guys throughout the year, and still be able to hold up. That's what I see in this bullpen. And yeah, we didn't go out and get a great big name to help set up Edwin Diaz, but when you have this types of depth, you don't really need that. Plus, we're looking at, guys like Reed Garrett and Dedanel Nunez to really build off of the years that they had last season with the Mets. They made a ton of noise in last year's postseason. We know Reed Garrett was practically our best reliever besides Edwin Diaz the entire season, which then he got overused because of that. And then he had to go on, had to have a couple IL stints to limit his innings. And then he ended up being ready for the playoffs, which he then did his thing there. So what I really like where this bullpen is going. And I know I was in my last video, I was talking about maybe possibly going after guys like, Kenley Jansen, David Robertson, tip of my tongue, Carlos Estevez, who just announced that the Royals are signing him to a 2-year deal with a club option. So, that guy for around another $11 million, another $15 million contract, that puts you out of the race pretty much all of free agency. This right here leaves the door open now for other possibilities. We're going to get into that right now. This is from Andy Martino of SNY on SNY live on TV after the Stanek signing happened. He said they had been talking to more expensive relievers like Kenley Jansen to the deal with Stanek could keep a bit of wiggle room to spend on Pete Alonso. The Stanek signing more likely that not signals that the Mets are now happy with their bullpen. So, I mean, I would say everyone here is pretty much happy with their bullpen. I mean, you got your big lefty. Danny Young is going to be trying out for that second left-hander spot on the roster. I would have liked Tim Hill to be on the roster. That didn't end up happening. That's all right. Most teams like one lefty in that bullpen, so we'll see how we roll. But this now leaves, like what I was talking about in the intro, this now leaves the door open for Pete Alonso to possibly re-sign with us. If you were to go out and get an expensive reliever like Kenley Jansen, Carlos Estevez, or David Robertson, guys where you might have to pay him double-digit, millions of dollars of money throughout the year, you wouldn't have been able to have room for him in the budget. Remember, anything over $301 million in your payroll, immediately for every $1 million past that number gets taxed 110%. So right now the Mets are at a little, I'm pretty sure they're in like 300. They're around 300 right now. So if you were to sign Pete Alonso, your payroll is going to end up being around 310 to 315 million dollars, which means 14 million of that is going to be a part of your luxury tax, which gets taxed 110% of it. So obviously the Mets are going to try and keep that number as low as possible, hence why they're throwing Pete Alonso these $70 million a year contract, or $70 million total contracts, with tons of money being deferred into years after that, because they're trying to stay, close to that luxury tax number as best as possible. It's not going to happen. They're going to end up going over if you want Pete Alonso back on this team. But, they're going to try their best to, stay within close quarters of it. But look, now this is the home stretch. Pete Alonso's still unemployed. This could go on into spring training. Maybe they move on from him and they trade for a top starting pitcher that they can pay some, that they can take on some salary. We've heard the rumors already about Dylan Cease and Michael King, which we'll probably make a video on them in the next coming, day or so. We heard rumblings about possibly Luis Castillo way back. Guys that are being paid a good amount of money that we can take on their salary so that we don't have to give a plethora of prospects to the other team. So, that's what this opens the door to. It's not all just about Pete Alonso. If he ends up not re-signing, this kind of leaves the door open to make a trade for somebody that you can pay a decent amount of money for, and that you could take on that salary so that you don't have to give up your top 5 prospects for, or top whatever. So that is what this comes down to. This is the final stretch. We already know that they just want Pete Alonso there are a quote saying that he's desperately wanting to be back on the Mets. We don't know if that's true or not. I think it's true just because we already know during all of last season how much he's expressed how much he wants to be back on this team. You can see it in his face, just like how worried he was about it. You can even see it at the plate. I mean, when he was struggling, you could see that this whole thing was in his head all last season, and I'm sure he just wants it to be done and over with, but he wants that, job security, and the Mets are not going to be giving him a 6 or 7 year contract like he's looking for. They're looking right now at a 3-year deal with some opt-outs. I'm hoping it could be longer than that. I don't think so at this point. 30 years old. They just want him for his prime years. But that's why they're giving him this 3-year deal with, $25 million deferred into it, so that he doesn't have to worry about that job security where, even if this stint with the Mets doesn't end up working out, you still have all this money you're going to be getting paid in the future. Even if, you weren't getting paid a high dollar amount in the future because you're underperforming. But look, I'm going to let you guys be the judge of that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this going on. Does this leave the door open? What do you guys think they do? Do you guys think they ends up signing Pete Alonso or going after a trade for a starting pitcher? We obviously heard the rumors about Max Scherzer too. If you guys want more on that, check out my last video too. But that is all I have for you guys here today on Mets Digest. Make sure you guys subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully coming very soon because we have a lot to cover. Have a good day, everybody.